In Baghdad, in the days of Caliph Harun al-Rashid, there lived a merchant's son named Abu al-Hasan, quick-witted, fond of good food and strong drink, and too honest for his own comfort. When his father died, Abu al-Hasan divided the inheritance in two. He hid away one half, and spent the other on companionship. He treated friends, drank with them, and kept open house. But when that spending half ran out and he went to those same friends for help, none of them offered even a crust. He went home with his spirit broken and told his mother what had happened.
That is how people are.
She said,
While you have money, they crowd around you. When you have none, they forget you.
So Abu al-Hasan took out the half he had saved and swore an oath he would not form friendships with people he knew. He would welcome only strangers, and only for a single night. In the morning, the guest would go, and Abu al-Hasan would not greet him again. From that day on, Abu al-Hasan made his place on the bridge over the Tigris, watching who passed. If he saw a traveler's face, he would invite him to supper, and the stranger would enjoy a night of food, wine, and talk. One evening, two men crossed the bridge dressed like merchants. Abu al-Hasan did not know that one was Harun al-Rashid himself, and the other was Mesrer, the caliph's trusted eunuch. Abu al-Hasan greeted them and pressed them, again and again, until they accepted his hospitality. He brought them to his house, fed them well, and set out wine. The caliph, amused by his host's charm and confidence, said at last,
"Young man, who are you? Tell me your name and your story, so I may repay your kindness."
Abu al-Hasan smiled.
"My lord, far be it that what is past should recur, and that I sit with you at any other time than this."
"Why?"
asked the disguised caliph.
"Why won't you tell me your case?"
"Because my story is strange, and there is a cause behind it."
"And what is the cause?"
"The cause has a tail."
Abu al-Hasan answered, and when his guest laughed, he said,
"I'll explain that saying by a little tale, the story of a penniless fellow and a cook."
So Abu al-Hasan told this.
Once there was a good-for-nothing man who woke up one morning with nothing in his pockets, not even a single dirham. Hungry and desperate, he wandered into the shop of a cook who had just set out his pots and pans, his spices and oils, ready for the first customer. The penniless man greeted him politely and ordered half a dirham's worth of meat, a quarter dirham's worth of couscous, and bread besides. The cook served him, and the man ate every bit, then sat there, staring at the walls, wondering how he would escape without paying. As he looked around, he noticed an earthen pot turned upside down on the floor. He lifted it and found beneath it something that made him grin, a horse's tail, freshly cut, with blood still seeping. Now he understood. The cook was selling horse flesh as if it were honest meat. The man washed his hands, bowed his head politely, and walked out as though nothing were owed. The cook, seeing him leave without payment, shouted after him and called him names. The penniless man stopped and threw insults back. The cook grabbed him, raised the alarm, and soon a crowd gathered.
"Pay what you eat."
The crowd demanded.
"I already paid a dirham."
The man insisted. The cook swore he had been paid nothing, and they argued louder and louder until fists and cuffs were exchanged. The crowd tried to pull them apart.
"Why are you fighting like this? What's the cause?"
Someone asked.
"There is a cause, and the cause has a tail."
The penniless man shouted. At that, the cook suddenly changed his tune.
"Ah, yes. Now you remind me. You did pay a dirham. Only a quarter of it is spent. Come back and take the rest."
He understood what that tale meant. The man had seen the proof, and would expose the cook's secret if pressed.
Abu al-Hasan finished, chuckling.
That, my brother, is why I say the cause has a tail. And now I will tell you mine.
Then he told his guest how he had wasted half his money on friends who abandoned him, and how his mother's words led him to swear his oath and host strangers only once. The disguised caliph laughed.
"You are excused. Now I know the cause, and the cause has a tail. Still, if God wills, I will not be separated from you."
Abu al-Hasan lifted his cup.
I have only one regret. Not that I lack money, but that I do not have power for one day, the power to command and forbid.
"And what would you do with it?"
I would take revenge on my neighbors." Near my house there is a mosque, and in it are 4 men and their imam who glare and scold whenever I have a guest. They threaten to complain to the commander of the faithful. If I were caliph for a day, I would have each of them whipped 400 lashes, and I would have them paraded through Baghdad with a crier proclaiming the punishment of those who trouble their neighbors and spoil people's joys.
May God grant you what you desire. Drink one last cup with me, and tomorrow night I will return.
Far be it.
Abu al-Hasan protested, but he accepted the final cup. The caliph had crumbled into it a drug that brings heavy sleep. Abu al-Hasan drank, his head swam, his legs failed, and he dropped to the floor as if struck down. Harun al-Rashid stepped outside and spoke to Mesrer.
Carry him to the palace, and lock the door behind you.
Mesrer lifted Abu al-Hasan and carried him through the night to the palace. There the caliph summoned Jafar the Barmecide and gave him strict instructions. The next day, Abu al-Hasan would sit on the throne, dressed as caliph, and every officer, Jafar foremost, must obey whatever he commanded. The caliph also instructed the women and servants of the palace what to say and how to behave. They were to treat the sleeping man as if he were truly the commander of the faithful. At dawn, a waiting woman woke Abu al-Hasan for prayer. He opened his eyes and saw walls glittering with gold and blue, curtains of embroidered silk, lamps burning, servants and slave girls standing in attendance. He shut his eyes at once.
Either I am dreaming, or this is paradise.
But they roused him again. They propped him up, dressed him, and spoke to him as to the caliph. Abu al-Hasan tested himself. He bit his finger. It hurt. He stared around, bewildered. He asked one after another,
Am I the commander of the faithful?
Yes.
They all replied. At last he began to doubt his own memory more than their words.
Yesterday I was Abu al-Hasan the wag. Today I am caliph.
When someone brought him fine sandals, he tried to stuff them into his sleeve as if they were a gift to be saved. The servants cried out and showed him they were meant for his feet. He washed, prayed in confused haste, and then they led him through curtains and doors into the great hall. There stood the nobles and officers of state. Swords gleamed. The guards ringed the throne. Abu al-Hasan sat down on the throne, and all came forward to bow and kiss the ground. Jafar approached, offered blessings, and stood ready. Then Abu al-Hasan shouted out, without hesitation,
Jafar! Go at once and give 100 dinars to the mother of Abu al-Hasan. Give her my greetings. And in such and such a mosque, seize the 4 men and the imam, whip each 400 lashes, parade them through Baghdad, and banish them from the city. Let the crier proclaim their punishment.
I hear and obey.
Jafar answered, and went to do as he was commanded. All day Abu al-Hasan ordered and forbade like a man born to rule. At evening they led him into the harem pavilion where lamps burned and music sounded. He ate, drank, and reveled in the sudden luxury. But when night deepened, the caliph ordered another drugged cup to be given. Abu al-Hasan drank, sank into senseless sleep, and Mesrer carried him back to his own house and set him down as if nothing had happened. At dawn Abu al-Hasan woke in his saloon, calling out the names of palace girls he had heard the night before. His mother, startled, came running.
Who are you?
He demanded.
Your mother.
She said.
You lie. I am the commander of the faithful.
His mother turned pale.
Be quiet! If anyone hears, we will die for it.
Abu al-Hasan staggered between certainty and doubt until his mother told him what had happened while he slept. Jafar had come with men, whipped the mosque man and the imam, paraded and banished them, and delivered to her 100 dinars with the caliph's greeting. At that, Abu al-Hasan's confusion turned to fury.
You dare tell me I am not caliph?
He shouted, and in his madness he beat his mother. Neighbors heard her cries, rushed in, and saw Abu al-Hasan raving about being the caliph. They pinioned him and carried him to the hospital. There the superintendent chained him to a lattice and beat him day and night to drive out the delusion. Abu al-Hasan endured it 10 days, until at last he begged his mother to free him and swore he would never again say he was the commander of the faithful. His mother ransomed him from the hospital and brought him home. When the month ended, Abu al-Hasan's desire for wine returned, and with it his habit of waiting on the bridge for a stranger to drink with. Once again the Caliph and Mesrour came to him in disguise. This time Abu al-Hasan refused to greet them.
No welcome. You are devils.
Harun al-Rashid sat beside him and spoke gently.
Did I not promise to return?
Abu al-Hasan poured out his whole misery, the palace, the throne, the whips, the hospital, everything. The Caliph listened, smiling behind his beard. At last, with coaxing and persistence, he persuaded Abu al-Hasan to take him home again. They ate, they drank, and when the wine rose to their heads, the Caliph crumbled the sleeping drug into a cup and pressed it into Abu al-Hasan's hand. Abu al-Hasan drank and fell senseless. Mesrour carried him to the palace again. This time the Caliph hid where Abu al-Hasan could not see him and ordered music to be played until the sleeper woke. Abu al-Hasan opened his eyes to lamps, songs, and servants, and his heart sank.
Not the hospital again.
Oh God, shame the devil.
He tried to test reality. He asked a girl to bite his finger, she did, and it hurt. He told a small slave to bite his ear. The boy bit so hard he nearly tore it, not understanding Abu al-Hasan's cries to stop. The palace erupted in laughter, hidden laughter, because the Caliph had commanded it. In panic and humiliation, Abu al-Hasan did 100 foolish things, until at last the Caliph stepped forward, unable to restrain himself.
Enough, Abu al-Hasan. You will be the death of me with laughter.
Abu al-Hasan recognized him and stared.
It was you. You almost killed me, and you nearly killed my mother.
But the Caliph, delighted by his spirit and frankness, forgave him and took him into favor. He lodged him at the palace and made him one of his boon companions. In time, Abu al-Hasan was allowed to sit in familiar company with the Caliph and the lady Zubaydah. He married Zubaydah's treasuress, a clever young woman named Nezhat el-Fuad. For a while they lived in comfort, until they spent all they had. Then Abu al-Hasan, always a wag, devised a trick.
I will pretend to die. You will run to your mistress weeping and say I am dead. She will give you money and silk for the funeral. Then I will rise, and you will pretend to die, and I will do the same with the Caliph.
Nezhat el-Fuad agreed. They carried out the plan. First she ran to Zubaydah, tearing her dress and wailing, and received 100 dinars and a piece of silk. Then Abu al-Hasan went to the Caliph in the hall of audience, beating his breast and crying that Nezhat el-Fuad was dead, and the Caliph gave him the same. But the joke grew tangled. The Caliph went to condole with Zubaydah, and each began mourning the wrong person. Zubaydah swore Abu al-Hasan was dead, the Caliph swore it was Nezhat el-Fuad. They sent Mesrour to see. Mesrour visited the house and found Nezhat el-Fuad lying still as death. He returned to say she was dead. Zubaydah would not believe it and sent her stewardess, an old woman, who arrived just as Abu al-Hasan and Nezhat el-Fuad switched places in their trick. The stewardess saw Abu al-Hasan stretched out and reported that he was the dead one. Now both sides accused the other's messenger of lying. Wagers were laid. At last the Caliph and Zubaydah came in person, with Mesrour and the old woman, to settle it. Forewarned, Abu al-Hasan and Nezhat el-Fuad lay down together and held their breath. When the Caliph saw them both dead, he and Zubaydah argued again about who died first, until the Caliph swore a solemn oath that he would give 1,000 dinars to whoever could tell him the truth. At that, Abu al-Hasan sprang up, alive as ever.
I died first.
Give me the 1,000 dinars and be free of your oath.
Nezhat el-Fuad rose too, and the house filled with relief and laughter. Harun al-Rashid laughed until he could scarcely breathe. But he was generous. He paid Abu al-Hasan the 1,000 dinars, and Zubaydah rewarded Nezhat el-Fuad as well. From that day, Abu al-Hasan's allowances were increased, and he and his wife lived in comfort, until the final day came that ends all feasts and separates all companions.